what I'm about to give you, every exact time. There's screenshots, there is time-stamped photos, there's video footage, there's receipts. Everything that I'm about to display is all backed by evidence. On November 30th, post the interaction with my grandmother and my mother denying me access to my property and then directing me to go to the mobile. At 12:46 p.m., I contacted my criminal lawyer. At 2:05 p.m., I contacted my commercial lawyer, all notifying them of what's taking place. At 2:03 p.m., I contact my psychiatrist with a 4-minute call at 3:20 p.m., followed up with a 13-minute call at 4:58, all discussing the current events. At 1:27 p.m., I sent a text to my father as I'm accruing tons of evidence of my father's rhetoric, I just sent him a text at 1:27 saying, every day I get more and more evidence on you, TikTok. At 12:49 p.m. on 11:30, you'll see a photo of the door that my sister kicked in, screwed shut deliberately. At 2:05 p.m., I get in contact with my lawyer. At 2:12, I contact complaining about what's taking place. 2:51, out of fear and after repeated harassment, I put my truck across the road and I start packing my things. 3:15, my sister and my mother break and enter into my domicile's front door. At 4:58, as referenced earlier, I speak with my psychiatrist in a hole, requesting a letter just basically stating that and only to request that letter so that I can continue to add it to the proof that my father is spreading all these lies about me being sick and having mental illness to every single person he thinks I could possibly know. At 6 p.m. on 11:30, my sister begins to escalate via text her harassment. She'd been playing this coy mediator, but I smelled it on her. She's fishing, looking to capitalize. My mother is right there toting the line, and my sister is a chameleon and a master manipulator. And just because she has been viewed as this degenerate and this hellion because of her actions, I strongly believe that she saw an opportunity. And when I was cleaning out my trailer out of, so I barricaded myself for one, because they already have my tools. I need to get my hard drives. I need to back everything up online because they might steal this too. They might kick in the door, and you'll see I literally screwed the door shut that doesn't have a lock on it, okay? And then I locked the back door that did. I also barricaded my truck across the road because my sister stops at nothing. And I don't know why exactly, but when they shut me down from my property, I went into a fearful mode of trying to protect what little assets I had left. 6 p.m. Mackenzie begins to escalate via text post her Safeway shopping trip. I believe this is when she relapsed or began to drink heavier. At 7:30 to 7:30 p.m., I was tired of her disrespect that she was sending me via the internet that they wouldn't give me back, the Starlink unit, let alone all my tools, everything I've been paying for. She is demeaning me, bringing up autism, Judaism, calling me crazy, inserting herself as an authority, telling me what I can and cannot do, as if she is speaking for my grandmother. This is all clearly documented in her text messages. Another reason why she stole all the evidence, so she thought. At 7:52, Mackenzie acknowledges the internet doesn't really care so much. She is continuing to taunt me from a condescending position of authority. At 8 p.m., you will see my official request to be left alone. Mackenzie, 8:08 p.m., final request, blocked her number. I went on about getting the rest of my stuff packed up the best I could. 8:36 p.m. you will see video of me addressing the filter issues and bleeding the lines. I have a video of that. 8:47 p.m. Clear documentation of the recently kicked in front door as well as the intact back door. At 9:09 p.m. my grandma calls 911 for the first time. A few moments later, calls to report that, and I quote, Taylor had an automatic style rifle and threatened to kill his sister, stated before the responding sheriff showed up. It also stated that Mackenzie had grabbed a handgun from Taylor, then fled to their house for safety. At 21:57, Mackenzie advised her brother randomly showed up earlier in the day and has been intoxicated all day, acting disorderly and making suicidal statements. You can clearly see I didn't show up randomly. And when I was told that basically when they made it clear that they're violating my rights, and if I'm gonna get my property back in this moment, I'm gonna have to violate theirs, I went down to the mobile as directed. I strongly advise that you check the timestamp on all submitted media from my sister, because it looks to me here that there might just be a gap between 8:47 p.m. and 9:09 p.m. when my grandmother first called. There is clear indication from multiple parties that Mackenzie has been trying to smear me with, sending screenshots of clips out of the video that there's 55 minutes worth of footage, but she's only sending out 45 seconds and 15 seconds in a minute and a half at a time. This is all documented.
Buying gifts, buying car parts, buying all of this stuff, and then just drop like a bad habit.
Supporting narrative by Brown, approximately 21:50. Response after multiple residents. And here's what I want to note here, is that sometime between 8:47 and 9:09, Mackenzie was not in fear for her life. In that same report, she claims that she resides in the mobile when she comes and sees my grandmother, but she resides also full-time in the report in Idaho. All right? At the very end of this, at the very end of the police reports, once it's all said and done, the family amongst themselves, when offered to get a hotel for their safety, they went from he's going to kill us all to he's suicidal to he'll sober up. And then they were able to sleep at my grandmother's residence comfortably next to a life and death situation. The special response team also wasn't deemed necessary until the next day. So they left this scene entirely, and then they swatted me the next day. They called me on the phone. I'm like, what the is this about? Nothing. And they claim I hung up. They just repeated their orders. I said, for what? They'd already tried to do it earlier in the day. So she claims in this report, lives full-time in Idaho, so she has no rights down there. It's not under lease. 21:57, Mackenzie advised approximately 1 hour before arrival, argument about Taylor needing to leave. No. No, she came down there to bait me and harass me and try to play friends with me, trying to get a sound clip of which I knew she was recording. She will claim, no, I'm coming down for bedtime stories and you can have your Starlink in the morning and stop being so pissy. So, despite being in fear for her life, she takes 20 minutes and lines up a narrative of my grandmother because the 911 report states that a few moments later, they get a call from statement from Mackenzie is different than the officer's statements from Mackenzie. Taylor was repeatedly seen in and around his vehicle. Says who? Deputy T. Brown here overheard Mackenzie to Deputy Miller that out of fear, Mackenzie grabbed her handgun as well as Taylor's handgun and fled to the neighbors. Witnessed the subject with the flashlight, re-entered the vehicle, whatever. Okay, one call was answered. What did I do? Mackenzie became very emotional, upset, and at some point, the officers had to take her handgun from her. What was she gonna do if I had not left? On December 9th, I get out of jail at 5:11 p.m. unaware that I'm not even allowed to be there and that Mackenzie's calling in her residence. I still have no idea what the is going on at this point. Well, no, I do now. I found out in jail that I'm a newspaper article and that Mackenzie is doing what Mackenzie does best. Four sheriffs arrive, check the paperwork. Only Mackenzie is listed, not her address. Sergeant calls Mackenzie, and Mackenzie then claims. So the officers leave me alone. So not only have I been once and I'm all up, and then I get up again because the officers come back and they say that Sergeant Kissinger had called Mackenzie, and she claims that she's had a contract with my grandmother since July. Also claims to be 20 or 30 minutes away. And the sheriff states that I can pack. Mackenzie never showed up. I don't think she was even in the state that day. She sure as hell does not have a lease or any proof that any of her things are there or that she regularly comes there. I have an entire I have a year and a half's worth of me consistently being at my grandparents' house when I'm not traveling or working. When I'm there mowing the lawn, doing handyman shit. Like, I'm not, this is ridiculous. 7:55 p.m. I send a video in the middle of the sheriff's fucking with me just out of fear. All right, so I have combed my entire trailer, head to toe. I mean, I tossed everything I possibly could upside down. My phone was taken either by Chehalis PD, but most likely my sister. It was right here, I believe. I was able to send 2 text messages. I haven't been able to get a new iPhone, so I can't restore my old messages, but I should have everything saved. Um, at 8:37 p.m., I got to have, yeah. I can't even think.